And welcome to Elite Full Restore, your premier Pokemon podcast, literally the only Pokemon podcast that exists. My name's Matt, and with me today I have some guests. I got former world champion Wolf Glick.
What's up?
And I got friend of the show, Zane Ipangu.
You really hit him with the former.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm glad you did, Zane.
I'm here for you, Wolf.
Homie.
Look, do we treat it like presidents where you keep it forever?
Well, you could have said current North
American international champion.
You know what? I could have done that, but I forgot.
Reigning champion of WBE.
They always forget. Only champion of WBE. Thank you very much.
Host
Nice.
of the Wolfie Glick Pokemon Sword and Shield Super Smash Bros. Invitational.
The real accomplishment here.
Man, yeah. Let's talk about that first, because that was fucking sick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for anyone who wasn't aware, Zane and Wolf together basically hosted an invitational tournament of professional Smash Bros. Players playing Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, how did that idea originally come about?
So I do want to clarify. My job in terms of hosting it was that I was in the Discord and told Wolf when his screen recording was broken. The hosting was not on my end. I did not do much of the tournament organization. But the idea coming about is where I was useful, in that Wolf and I just talked about dumb shit and bounced ideas off of each other.
I think you're not giving yourself entirely enough credit. Zane was very helpful in helping me. I bounced a lot of ideas off of him. And yeah, gave me a lot of good info. Because I've followed the Smash scene, but I'm not involved in it. So having somebody who knew the scene very well was super helpful. But the idea was kind of put into my head when I recorded with Ludwig. Or I think it was when we were recording. I don't think we were just talking. But and he mentioned that I was doing this thing where I had a couple Smashers on my channel, and I was teaching them about competitive Pokemon and having them play. I did it with Alpharad. I did it with Esam. I did it a little bit with Hugo on his channel. And so, and then I had Ludwig on my channel after we wrapped up, or maybe it was even in the video, but at some point he says all I really want to do is get good enough a Pokemon to beat Alpharad or something like that. Right. Or something or Hugs. I don't even remember who it was. And I was thinking, what if I organized an exhibition match between those two? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was well, if I was going to do an exhibition match, what if I held a tournament, an 8-person tournament? And so that was kind of where the idea was born.
Yeah, it turned out really cool because I wasn't aware of at least half the Smashers playing, and followed some of them afterwards. So it was cool to learn more things about in the Smash community as well. Because basically most of my interaction with the Smash community is just knowing Zane. Mm-hmm. And then watching the occasional Melee Grand Finals.
Right.
So it was cool to see a couple more people than I usually see, especially the ones memeing on stream, being funny, because it's always good to follow people that have a fun personality about the game.
Yeah, right. Alpharad's little notes and stuff that he was putting up were quite funny. I was
when he forgot how certain mechanics worked.
Yeah, oh my god, because it was really funny. I was DMing Aaron Zhang, who was the coach for Plup.
Mewtwo King,
right.
I think.
Mewtwo King, you're right.
Yeah.
And Mewtwo King also had messed up many. Mewtwo King Dynamaxed the wrong Pokemon 3 out of the 4 times that he did Dynamax. He had Dynamax Bronzong happening a lot. But I was DMing Aaron and being yeah, I'm pretty sure Jason's gonna Jason being Mewtwo King, is going to mess up Alpharad in this next one. It doesn't really look like Alpharad knows what he's doing. And then Alpharad pulled a really sick play predicting the switch turn 1 and 1, but it was right after he had attacked a levitating Pokemon with a ground type move, so I felt pretty justified in
he really just kind of pulled it out of nowhere there. That was the part of the stream I was there for, so I didn't get to watch the whole thing because I was kind of all over the place that day, but that was one thing I did get to see, which was very cool.
Yeah, no, it was a great event. It went super well. And yeah, it was a lot of fun for me as well, just to organize and host and put together. And I'm super happy with how everything went.
It also
So, like-
I just want to say really quickly, it also sort of in my mind has laid the ground for a lot of other events that could happen in Pokemon because it used the same format as the World Champion Invitational that happened like a week beforehand, right?
Yeah, 1 week beforehand, I believe.
Yeah, and both times that format was super successful in terms of both boosting the profile of the players who were competing and of the people who were hosting it. So I think it was like a good like second dry run of that format, and it worked.
Yeah, it was really nice, and like I think it's like that's something that's like kind of been on the Pokemon community is that like Wolf and Aaron aside, there's not as many big like personalities in the scene, and that's something that a tournament like this can work for as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are plenty of like other big Pokemon like content creators, I would say,
Yes.
like, but in terms of VGC, like there are other people making content, and there's super talented players and good content creators, but they're not as well known for sure. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's basically it. It's not a knock on the quality of their content or anything. It's just like if you're coming at it from like a position of not knowing much, like your names are the first ones that are going to come up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I hear you.
What was the experience of like coaching someone who just really wasn't familiar with Pokemon?
So I didn't coach anybody specifically. I tried to help out with everyone just so I wouldn't be
Right.
biased. But I think that at least from talking to the coaches, I think a lot of people thought it was like a super positive experience. I know Justin Karras, who was Toph's coach, said that like through coaching Toph, he learned a lot more about the game he understood things that he had missed before, because there's a lot you kind of understand like intuitively, because especially in Pokemon where there's so many mechanics and so many like things going on all the time and like these tiny like details that you need to know, there's a lot of stuff that just becomes kind of second nature at a sense, and you stop kind of thinking about. And so I think it was interesting for our coaches who are very talented players. I think every one of them has top cut the world championships at least once. So these are some of the best of the best. Like the median world's performance was top 4, I think, of our coaches, which is crazy.
Nice.
But yeah, regardless, so like these people are very, very good, but it's being good at the game isn't necessarily being good at like explaining the game. And so I think it was a good. I didn't hear any complaints about coaching. I think everyone who coached like found it a positive experience.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Aaron Traylor afterwards, and Aaron absolutely loved coaching Zane, and now he watches Zane's matches when he plays Melee too. And so me and Aaron will talk about Melee as well as Pokemon.
And that's a big deal because like Aaron Zhang and I have like followed Melee for years, and we would talk about it, and Aaron Traylor would always kind of not like roll his eyes, but he would never engage in the conversation. So it's very nice as well, just as his friend to get him a little bit more involved in the scene, and now he is like somebody to root for as well. So yeah. They actually, funnily enough, Aaron won the first big regional of Sword and Shield in the US, and then a couple weeks later Zane won it was Genesis, I think.
Yeah, Genesis 7. Yeah.
Oh, that was fucking sick.
Yeah.
Big win for
It's so
Team
good to
Mogul
see.
Moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fun fact actually. So Aaron, not to dox him, but he posts about this all the time. Aaron currently goes to Columbia University.
This is Aaron Zhang.
Yeah, Aaron Zhang, not Trailer.
Yeah.
And
Good
he's
to see you.
he's finishing up his last semester there. And I went to Columbia, and I live very close to Columbia. Now I'm self-doxing. And and Aaron and I actually don't hang out that frequently because he's busy with school.
He's very busy.
Yeah, but when we have hung out before, I've taken him to the Columbia Super Smash Bros. Club, which I founded.
Very cool.
And played doubles with him and stuff, and it was a very good time because he plays Peach. So
Yeah, I was going to ask if he played Peach.
but he had a really, really good time. I think we're actually going to hang out and play Melee sometime this week.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
I think it's just nice to have good cross community stuff like that too. Just
For sure.
good for boosting profiles on both sides.
Yeah,
It's funny that you mentioned this like founding the Smash thing, because like Wolf, you went to VTech, right?
Yeah, Virginia VT, go Hokies.
Yeah, so the league that me and Zane both play in, which is currently doing a doubles season, is Poketech.
Yeah.
I had a funny story about that, actually. I didn't realize that was the... Zane, why didn't you ever mention that? What the heck?
Are you kidding me? This is literally how we became friends.
I knew. I just didn't know it was through tech. Or maybe I forgot.
I cannot. I literally have it recorded, Wolf. I have it recorded because it was an interview with you. I will pull up the receipt.
Okay.
This is actually how we became friends, is talking about this.
I remember talking about the league. I just didn't realize it was through tech. I guess I forgot that it was through
You
tech.
100% did, and you told me that you didn't usually go that much because they were singles focused.
Wait, did I tell you the story?
Maybe.
I'm gonna tell everybody the story. So when I was a freshman, I didn't have a car at school, and so I wanted to go to like events, but I didn't have a way to get there. So I went to this. I went to like so Poketech is like there's like a Pokemon club at Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. And so I went, and I don't remember if I think I talked to somebody in charge, whoever's like the president or whatever, and I was like, hey, I'm a VGC player. I've won nationals twice. I got second at Worlds in 2012. Like, I do this competitively. I know you guys are more singles focused, but could I just like have a few like seconds to make a pitch at the beginning of one of your meetings? And they were like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. So I go and I go to this meeting and I stand up in front of everybody and I'm like, hey guys, like I'm Wolf, like I play Pokemon competitively and I do my whole spiel, whatever. And I was like, if anyone's interested, like I'm gonna hang out, like come talk to me and we can talk about like competitive Pokemon, like with official tournaments and stuff, right?
Right.
Not one person talked to me.
No.
I sat down and I was ignored for like 20 minutes. Then I was like, well, I guess I'm leaving. Nobody talked to me. I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I were to go to like a regular, like if I were to go to like a bar and sit down at a table, okay, well, this is probably wouldn't work. But like if I, people, like I think in any other situation, if I was like, hey guys, I play Pokemon competitively, you want to like talk about it? I'm sure somebody would have like wanted to talk about it, but nobody talked to me. Like, no, I could like, I don't know, it was very weird. Like they were all, I guess they just wanted to play singles, which is fine, but yeah,
They might have also just been really shy.
they also might have been shy for sure, but yeah.
I think most of the people that we know would have been after that. Is that like just judging by year wise? Like a couple of the people who
a while ago.
A couple of people who run the league now are like long graduated, and they just the league kind of split off from the actual club itself.
I think
the most part.
only it's like 50% or fewer actual VT people now in the league.
Well, yeah, because basically what happened is me and my girlfriend Steph, who's on a previous episode for anyone who listens to the podcast regularly, were invited by Spoon, who is on the last episode, to join the league just because he like followed us on Tumblr and needed some people to fill out. Like 16 people, I think, was what they were going for that year. Mm-hmm. And then we joined, and then in subsequent years, I just started inviting everyone that I know and kind of just taking over the place. Like Zane. Zane was one of the people who I dragged in.
Right.
And then I won the league.
And then you won the league.
With my coaching, I would like to add.
No. Your coaching was the season I did really poorly, Wolf.
Oof. Well, okay. One thing that
that's actually legitimately my worst season, other than the season I joined the league and the season replacement. But it was because that was the season, Wolf, where we did the snake.
Where you didn't draft, where you didn't get your own team.
You didn't get your own team. So
that's bonky.
That was such
for me.
It was such a weird season, but I did find it very fun in the end.
Yeah.
Well, mostly because the team I grabbed, Wolf, had 4 weather setters on it.
Oh, God.
And so I would bring 2 of them every week just to flex. I did not do well, but it was very fun.
But you were flexing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was there for. At least once, I brought all 4 of them.
That's very nice. Yeah, I had a draft recently where I drafted, like, Hawlucha, and then I got Indeedee with Psychic Surge, Weezing with, like, both, Misty Surge and... like the other ability, and then I drafted Pincurchin for Electric Surge, and then they redrafted it, and I was like, hell no, and I left the league.
So fucked.
I was so mad. I wasn't like mad, but I was like so excited. I had like G-Max Copperajah, like I had some cool Pokemon. I was like super excited, and then they were like they redrafted because Bank was coming out. They wanted to use the Bankmons, but like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh, this is like such a sick. I could have done so much sick stuff with this, and like, yeah, it just didn't happen. But
yeah, so the league this season is running its first double season, and we just decided to ignore Bank.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do, because you had to wait until just like last week anyway if you wanted to start with Bank. So yeah.
I think we made it so bank abilities are legal, but no additional Bank Pokemon is what we decided on.
That's fair.
We have some other issues with the legality of certain things in that league, but in terms of weird draft stuff, about 3 rounds in, we just like I was looking through what other people had drafted, because I wasn't thinking about, especially since none of us are VGC players, really. We're mostly singles players. I was just thinking about getting Pokemon I wanted. And I looked up, and, like, the third pick had somehow gotten Excadrill T-Tar, and I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, God.
How did this... How did
And
we
then, like,
actually...
I think it was Silva that ended up getting... He got Halucha, and we were just trying our best to try to prevent him from getting a terrain setter when he got one.
I ended up basically getting 4 out of the 6 Mons on Sajan's Dracozolt team, and I could have had Gastrodon, and I legitimately picked Gigalith because of an image of Wolf.
Sorry, Gigalith? Did you mean Gigolith?
Gigalith. Thank you, Zane.
We're done with this. It was so stupid, though. I should have just taken Gastrodon.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't. It's like, I need a weather setter in Dynamax meta. Stupid.
Yeah.
Foolish.
I like Gigalith.
All right.
It's good.
He's
Unfortunately, I set myself a self-imposed draft rule where I'm not allowed to pick anything I've picked in a previous season except for Garbodor, who is my signature. So I kind of screwed myself. I can't have any weather setters anymore, other than ones that get it through Dynamax moves.
Right, which doesn't really count.
I didn't.
Doesn't
know that,
really
Matt.
count.
I'm going to use that to my advantage against you in the next season, because you were the person I was most worried about taking most of the Pokemon I wanted.
You say as if you didn't snipe like half my picks every season.
Great minds think alike.
Oof.
One year, me and Zane were on the same team, and so it was like, advantageous to let your teammates get Pokemon that they want. But Zane wasn't reading the team chat and pick sniped me twice in a row.
I was on my phone at Genesis. I was literally
That's
at
fair.
Genesis 6, I think, is when that was happening.
Yeah, that tracked. I think I was in a car for that one.
Or no, I was at Smash and Splash. I was doing commentary while we were doing the draft.
It's good that the draft moves slow enough that that's possible. Like, the first draft I did with Poketech, I was literally at a party, and I still managed to, like, be social at the party and not just be a weirdo looking at his phone.
Yeah.
It was a murder mystery party, and I was a pirate, and I managed to win best costume and best personality at the whole thing.
And did you win
While
the draft,
drafting.
too? Did you
While
win the
drafting.
draft, Matt?
Yeah,
Sorry,
one thing I was wondering is just, have you, like, coached someone through transitions from singles to doubles before? Because I'm finding it very difficult.
No, I'm so short on time. Like, I have more time now that I'm doing this full time, but like I still find I still don't have as much time to do everything that I want to do, and like, so I haven't I don't have time normally for one-on-one coaching, like at least not like dedicated one-on-one coaching.
Right.
Like if a friend is like, has questions,
a couple
like,
questions.
yeah, or like if people I get a lot of DMs every day about like, hey Wolf, try this team, or like, hey Wolf, like I'm looking for feedback, and like I try to get to as many as I can, but I have a limit. And so I did the singles to doubles transition. Actually, I was a singles player in Gen 4 and switched over in Gen 5, but I played Gen 5 singles a bit as well. So like I think actually coming from singles gives you a better. Well, I'm biased because that's what I did, but I think in some ways it helps rather than just going straight into doubles. I don't think there's anything wrong with starting in doubles either. Like I know a lot of people just start in doubles competitively. But I think like I knew a lot about like what certain like weird Pokemon would do because I played in singles where they were more common, so if I saw them like that was more helpful and stuff like that. But no, I haven't ever like I want to do coaching, but I just really like don't have a ton of time.
Yeah, that's fair. I just find the rhythm of it is so much different.
It's very
it's very hard to get used to it. Just especially stuff like just protecting, knowing when it's worth going for a double protect, the switching being a little less common, but still like just as vital. And then of course the fact that some things will do extremely well in singles and then be hot shit in doubles, and vice versa.
I think especially in this meta, because this meta is so fast-paced and offensive, at least right now. So
right,
and the Gen 8 OU meta is very much not that for singles. Which is why I've enjoyed OU so much so far. It's that you can play offense and Stall's not that good, but balance is was by far the best team archetype. I haven't played since Home came out, but that's how it felt to me at least.
Oh, yeah, how is the singles meta? Because it's something I really haven't had much time to look into, especially because like most of my look into the common meta is running it through Draft League, which is a completely different kind of format, right?
Oh, just like the singles OU meta. So like I said, I haven't played since Home came out, and Home has introduced a lot of really busted shit into the game. Like Melmetal is arguably...
Oh, they banned that already.
They banned it already. It's gone.
They banned something else as well.
Zekrom, maybe?
Maybe I think it was Kyurem because they gave it Dragon
Kyurem,
Dance.
that's what I meant.
Yeah, Kyurem Black.
Kyurem Black got banned. They didn't give Garchomp Dragon Dance, which is cool because we can see that sort of stuff.
Well, Dragon Dance is a TR move. I thought you could only see... Oh, I see what you're saying. Never mind. That's right.
Yeah.
Like, you can't see egg moves. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
So that was cool. In general, the meta has been fairly, like I said, balance heavy, and I think that's as a result of, first of all, of needing really strong defensive mons to deal with the really strong wall breakers that have popped up in this generation. So obviously Mr. Fish is the one everyone knows about, but
the myth, the legend.
Yeah, Galarian Darmanitan was what actually got banned first, and you can't run offense against those Pokemon and be successful 100% of the time, because if they're scarfed and you lose your Scarfer, the game is just over.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of balance. You see a lot of Clefable as the biggest mon in the meta because it's capable of playing offensive and wish support.
Right.
Sylveon, defensive Kommo-o. I like that there's a lot of Pokemon that can run defensive and offensive sets. It reminds me of like back in the days when Tyrannoboa was a thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a big thing is like, I guess it's a little, since things need those defensive stats, it's not just an all speed game, which is what a lot of metas seem to devolve into.
Wait, my head is exploding. Remind me what Tyrannoboa is. I'm having like nostalgia. Like I feel like I'm flying backwards in time.
So Tyrannoboa, in my mind, is like the most legendary, like weird name set of all time, except for Crocune, which is Rest Talk.
Yeah.
Tyrannoboa is Sub Punch with special attack.
Yes. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gen 3 is wild.
Holy cow.
So it's slow Sub Punch with special attacking moves. So you get to sub and kill Blissey with Focus Punch, and then you use Dark Pulse and Flamethrower to beat like
Steals?
Scizor. Yeah, the steals basically. Yeah.
Oh.
That's wild.
Oh my god.
And yeah, no, like Tyrannoboa and Crocune are words you can throw at me to immediately throw me back in time to just basically the period of time where I wasn't trying to build anything for competitive, but I sure was fucking reading about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do need to play now that the new meta has come out, because Shell Smash Blastoise is the main reason.
Because Shell Smash Blastoise. Yeah. I think we got a question relating to the home-related stuff. I could probably find it here somewhere. Maybe not. Whatever. I'll just ask it anyway. What are some of the biggest threats you've seen through the new stuff available in the home meta? I guess this will apply to singles and to doubles.
For doubles, we didn't gain that much. We got Frengard Clefairy, which is like a good Pokemon, I guess, but it's, we have Togekiss right now, and so like Clefairy offers something different because of its Frengard ability, and but it's Togekiss right now. Like, the ability to run Babri Berry is very valuable, and the ability to be offensive as well as defensive and be able to Dynamax is very valuable. So Clefairy is getting a little outshined. I'm trying to think what else. Like, Swoobat got Simple, but nobody really uses that because it's bad. Let me see.
Yeah.
Say maybe you can go first while I look up the mons, like up the thing.
I mean,
I wish Simple Swoobat was more viable because I do love to see it.
Yeah.
They need to give it Cotton Guard.
I'm looking up the reintroduced Pokemon right now too. I mean, isn't Venusaur like the biggest threat in VGC?
Well, it's not legal yet. You asked me again in 2 weeks. Yeah, so until March 1st, we have safety. Well, Incineroar is really the big one.
Yeah, Incineroar is the big one.
Yeah.
Incineroar was everywhere last gen, and I'm assuming it's just going to be everywhere right when the new meta starts again.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. I think it might not be as bad, but it could be. Like, they gave it Parting Shot in close combat. Parting Shot being the big one.
Yeah.
Although close combat allows you to beat Tyranitar now, with like even if they Dynamax, so
dang,
that's fun.
Cool.
Yeah, so yeah, other than that, like Meowstic got Prankster. There was a couple other like ones. Noctowl got Tinted Lens, which is good. But other than that, most of them are pretty like not really used at all. In
And
terms
then
of
like as for like Pokemon, it was mostly like box legendaries that came back, other than like
It was box legendaries, forms of like Alolan forms, or like regular forms of things that had Galar forms, and
Right.
and then the other Gen 1 starters.
and even then VGC legality is only going to be stuff like found in this game, so it's not like any of the transferred legendaries mean anything anyway, right?
exactly, yeah. So we'll get like a Alolan 9. I think we'll get a Alolan Ninetales. I think we'll get a Alolan Raichu. Though actually, I think we won't get a Alolan Raichu because you can't. There's no way to evolve Pikachu into a Alolan Raichu. Like there's a Alolan Vulpix, but not a Alolan Pikachu. So
Right. So there won't be a Alolan Raichu, or
is there a Alolan Meowth? I can't even remember now. There is, right?
There is, yeah.
There is
Okay,
Alolan.
so we'll get a Alolan Persian, Alolan Ninetales will be the big ones that we get back on VGC. But yeah, so we'll get a Alolan Persian, Alolan Ninetales, Incineroar, Venusaur, and Blastoise are going to be the big ones. And like Primarina, I think could be okay as well. Like I think Primarina is actually kind of good now that Feeny is gone.
There was a question about Primarina I remember that we can get to, but I think in singles, funnily enough, a lot of the stuff that got introduced is banned immediately. Because it was just so overpowered. I mean, yeah, Kyurem Black with Dragon Dance got immediately banned.
he finally has a physical ice move. I'm so proud of him.
Oh god.
And Melmetal, like I was saying. Other than that, I mean, most of these other Pokemon are okay, but they'd be like UU niche picks. I'm looking at like Darmanitan for that, Terrakion, Alolan Ninetales again. Venusaur doesn't have Mega, so it's pretty bad in singles unless you're running it on Sun. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I haven't actually played the meta that much, but those are the ones that I would pay attention to. Decidueye is one thing that could become an interesting semi-niche pick in that it's the meta is really ghost type reliant in general right now. And so Decidueye is definitely worse than the other ghost types like Dragapult, but it's a good Pokemon.
What makes it so ghost type? What makes it so ghost type heavy? Is it just like the lack of knockoff on most things?
Well, there's no pursuit anymore.
No pursuit is
Yeah.
the thing. It's the lack of
That's
knockoff
the big one.
and no pursuit. Yeah, no pursuit makes ghost types really, really broken. That's it.
I mean, I guess I assume in OU meta, things that got knockoff in previous gens would be legal because they don't care about carry ups for that.
Yeah, I don't know how many things got knockoff that didn't before, right?
Well, I just mean like things that got it by tutor last gen that can't learn it just
I
because.
think
He
the
hasn't
only
played any
big one
banks.
is- Yeah, I think the only big one is Bisharp that
Yeah.
Oh god.
got it that didn't have it before. But Bisharp, like, it's definitely better with knockoff, but because Bisharp is such a Sucker Punch reliant mon, and at +2 it OHKOs every ghost type anyways, it's not like a huge detriment to ghost types, if that makes sense.
It's so
Yeah,
slow
yeah.
as well. Like
It's really slow. Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah,
It's gonna be
that's
slower
why it
than
would
every
be
ghost type.
relying on its Sucker Punch most of the time.
Yeah, you just can't switch stuff into Bisharp anymore, which is
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Do you think knockoff is too strong, the way that it is right now? This is something I'm always thinking about when, like, you know, just theory moning changes they could make to the meta. Like, do you think like the 65 base power plus the boost is too strong?
no, I actually think it's really balanced, honestly.
I agree.
I think it like because it was so bad before. It was like what was it, 15, 20 base power? 25?
It was 20.
20. Yeah, I think it's actually super balanced. Like because the thing is, it's not very strong when they've lost an item or you can't knock them off. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
now that we don't have Megas or Z Crystal Orbs, like I mean, you can knock everything off. But that's also, I mean, I can only speak to the VGC meta, but like we don't have really much knockoff right now. Or if they've already consumed the item, you know, like I don't know. Like I think it's a pretty fair move personally.
I think in singles, knockoff is really frequently your mid-ground play because it's good no matter what if you haven't knocked off another Pokemon yet, because you get especially now that there's no Z crystals or Mega Stones.
Right. So like even if you think
knockoff-
they're gonna switch, you can just
Yeah, you knock
it's
off.
a fair play anyway.
And I think that it's healthy to have mid-ground plays look more appealing than reads.
Yeah, I agree.
Because your mid-ground play should... The way that Pokemon should be balanced, in my mind, is that the mid-ground play should always look like the more appealing option if like, or not always, but it should be
like the majority of the time.
It should be the higher EV option so that you get baited into doing mid-ground plays and then can differentiate yourself by not doing the mid-ground play every time. Because I think everyone playing singles has gone for a knockoff because they didn't know what to do, seen the switch, and been like, why did I not just read that? Like, it was so obvious. And that's the dichotomy in Pokemon, especially in singles, that makes it interesting to play. So I think that having knockoff feel like a little bit too strong just power-wise is really good, and actually having it be only the first time you use it only heightens that sense of like making the read or the mid-ground play the first time, and so you get to be rewarded for it, but also you shouldn't have maybe done it in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
that makes sense. It always seems like something that's like always worth having on a Pokemon, and whenever something feels like it's on everything, I always feel like it's like a bit much. But I'm not approaching this from the same angle, I think.
I mean, I agree, but I think that that's why it's a good thing. I think that that for Pokemon to work, there need to be standard things that are just universally good, because the way that you win at high elo is by figuring out those standard things and anticipating them, or anticipating your opponent will anticipate them. So having a good baseline is a good thing. It's different in other metas. Like if you've ever played any Little Cup, in Little Cup, knockoff is it's not just like,
oh, it's mandatory, right?
It sounds broken.
It's actually broken in Little Cup, and that like it's always the best play to knock off. Yeah. Pretty much. It's like, well,
because like 75% of the meta is using Eviolite at least.
Well, even if it's not Eviolite, they're running Citrus Berry with Sturdy, or sorry, Berry Juice or something, or like it's that meta is so item reliant in general.
Which is why when I had Trubbish last season, Sticky Hold Eviolite, man, it's perfect.
Pretty good.
It's the perfect move.
I want to add on to what you're saying, Zane, that I 100% agree. The thing about Pokemon is that if there was no meta, it would be a very, very I don't think it would be a good game, because the fundamental problem of Pokemon is you have 6 Pokemon with limited tools, right? Like you have 4 move slots on each Pokemon, you have 6 items on your team, and that's pretty much all you've got. You've got your EVs and your IVs and your natures, and with those 6 Pokemon, ideally you want to be able to beat every single thing you play against, right? So when there's 1,000 different Pokemon and you have 6 to try and counter every possible combination of those, like it's more or less impossible if everything were equally as common, right? Because even Pokemon like that aren't traditionally thought of as meta or good can still be good in certain niches, right? And so like in VGC, one of my least favorite formats was 2017, where we didn't have things that were like so much better than everything else. Like whenever Arcanine is one of the best Pokemon in the format, you have a problem, in my opinion. And like the Tapus were good, but like, I don't know, like Mimikyu was really good, and like Snorlax was good, but like there was just like Porygon Z was really good, Porygon 2 was really good. Like there was just a lot of variance, and you could play against like a lot of different things, and it made playing the metagame really hard because there wasn't like a standard, like you could play against there was so much variance in that metagame, and like it made it really hard because like sure, you could be prepared for the standard stuff and then not play a single standard team in a tournament because you didn't have to play standard to win, or playing standard didn't give you like that much of a better shot. And so countering that and playing in that was really unpleasant. So I agree that you need to have standardization, or else it just becomes too chaotic.
I think that's line, though.
Yeah, that's one thing that's worth bringing up, is that I know that in some VGC formats it became so centralized that just no one felt like watching it.
Yeah, I mean,
like when the teams are all the same.
I think that's part of a narrative problem. Like people will always cite 2015 as well as being like, oh wow, everyone used the same team, and really that's one.
It's not that one.
It wasn't that one. Yeah, that's right.
2016.
2016 is the actual one. Yeah, 2016 is the actual.
Because that was when I started this podcast, and like my second episode is called Groudon Everywhere. Yeah. So I think that was the one I was thinking of.
And but the thing actual 2011 is the real one where that.
No, 2011 was so cool. But yeah,
by the end of I don't know. We can you say what you'll say, and then I'll say what I would say.
Well,
everyone hates first person.
Well, everyone hates 2011. That's the first thing I'll say, except for me. I love 2011 because 2011 was very standardized. However, I played the same like anti-meta team the whole year, so I had a blast, right? And for me, like I didn't have that experience, but a lot of other people did. That was kind of also right around the turning point of when people started like getting like good, if that makes sense. Like
Or it wasn't just Ray Rizzo winning every year.
Well,
Well,
it was,
Ray-
but it was when Ray introduced Bulky Thunderous and other things.
there was
Right.
the teams that you'd play at tournaments, the quality went way up, like from 11 to 12, starting in 2012, in my opinion. Like at 2011, you would play against good teams, but you wouldn't always play against them until the later rounds of like regionals. I mean, I went to one regional. Keep in mind, it was my first tournament ever, almost
Right.
9 years ago. So, like that's take my perspective with that in mind. But yeah, like I remember I played like Simipour and Simi Sage like later than I should, and like that. Well, Simipour, not Simi Sage, like later in regionals, and like there was a lot of random stuff that year. But towards the top, it was more centralized, and then at nationals, and then at nationals and worlds, the teams were much stronger as well. But yeah, 2012, like at regionals, people were like actually like had good teams. I think part of that is Nugget Bridge being started, and just like more VGC knowledge in general being spread around and people sharing teams more. And yeah, 2012, 2013 was kind of a golden era in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that I obviously don't come at this from the same first person experience, and that I've never played VGC competitively, but I do write about the history of it every week for False Swipe. And when I've talked to people about it and going through teams, there was a lot of anti-2011 sentiment immediately after 2011. Like people were not happy about it because
I was happy.
It was one of the situations where, so 2011 is the first black and white games, and so it was Unova Pokedex only.
Right.
But it was a situation where Wolf and I have talked a lot about this and did a video about it, about how having limited Pokedex it will very frequently strike that sweet spot of enough of an established meta that new Pokemon rise to the fore, and that you also have room for counter meta. I mean, the 2014 Sage and Park is the Kalos Pokedex year. It's it's a really good example of that. But in 2011,
a perfect example, basically.
It's not a perfect example because, well, never mind. You say what you're going to say, Zane.
But in 2011, so the thing was, everyone brings up 2015 because it was the chalk year, right? Of Cresselia, Heatran, Amoonguss or Aegislash, Landorus, and Kangaskhan, and then Thundurus was also on like every team too. So, but if you look outside of the top 8 at that year, there's not that many chalk teams, and chalk really was like the Japanese players brought it this year, and it like at Worlds, it was when it took over. In 2011, everyone had figured out Scrafty, Thundurus, Tornadus like before Worlds, is at least what I've heard, and that's why I've heard like negative sentiment again.
Okay, so it was like a meta that developed early and then never really evolved, whereas chalk kind of just took everyone by surprise.
No, it did evolve, but it evolved at Worlds when Ray, instead of all the Japanese players bringing chalk, it was Ray like innovating and doing really cool stuff. But it's not like that meta continued. It stopped at Worlds when Ray won, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That being said, I totally understand why people don't like 2011. My perspective is very biased because that was my first year. It was my breakout year. It's the reason I'm playing now. And also I won, regionals and got top 8 at Worlds with Embor. So like my experience is very different.
With Embor.
Yeah.
What was the build on that thing like?
It was Lumberry because the team, I had a hard Trick Room the whole season, like dual setters. Same 4 Pokemon the core 4 was all 3 tournaments. And then it was week 2, Chandelure and Amoonguss. And so I would have some combination of Embor, Hydreigon, Terrakion, and Thundurus to counter like those 2 Pokemon. Like Embor was anti-Amoonguss, was Lumberry with Flare Blitz, Superpower, Rock Slide, and Protect.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's always just nice seeing people go with like an unconventional Pokemon to the end. I think that's why people like me who are less familiar with VGC are not going to forget the Sage and Park win anytime soon.
Nobody forgets that one.
No one forgets that one because it's just like it just seems like the perfect anti-meta pick. But if you kind of look at it, it just seems really obvious that it was just really good roll compression on his part.
Yeah, I think it was also like I have enormous respect for Sajin. Like I think he is one of the greatest players of all time. I had the pleasure of playing him multiple times. I will say I think that team in particular, I think Sajin he may have gotten a little lucky in the people he played. The team that I brought, the team that my friend Billa brought, and like one of the main teams that was on the lookout was this team that took advantage of Gothitelle plus Mawile. It was a very, very strong combination. Sajin played Billa, I believe, round 1. Billa had to Gothitelle Mawile, and I believe Billa beat him pretty handily because he had no matchup against it. And then for the rest of the tournament, Sajin didn't play another Gothitelle Mawile. He managed to dodge them all, and there was quite a few of them as well. So, that's like one of those situations where if you replay the tournament, maybe it like doesn't, maybe it doesn't like end up the same way, but that doesn't really matter because he won, right?
He did win. He was good, but yeah, no, I guess it can just come down to the matchups because if you don't have anything for something and you know that on the first day of the tournament, then not
also,
much you can do once your team's locked, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's nothing you can do except play better. But the other thing is that like it's a lot about narratives, right? Like Seijin won with Pachirisu, right? And the way that people talk, it's also because people have part of it is, people love seeing Pachirisu and the story behind it, but also part of it is the way that we talk about that world win versus, the other ones, right? That one is infamous by far among the general and casual community. Whereas it's not like that. It's not treated the same way among people who like really have played hardcore, because everyone knew about Pachirisu, or maybe not everyone. People like, it made sense. It wasn't like, oh, Seijin used Caterpie, right? It was like, oh, he found a Pokemon that wasn't as used, but had some things going for it, and he did a really good job with it and was smart with it, right? But it's not the same thing, right? And it's just like, it's part of the narrative, right? If I wouldn't be that surprised if people had created that same narrative around Raichu, right? When I won, because it's similar.
I did see it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. But it wasn't not in the same sentiment of like Pachirisu as a Pokemon is put on a pedestal, right? Because of that win, which I think makes sense and I think was really good for our game. Don't get me wrong, but. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think a lot of it comes down to narrative.
I agree with it coming down to narrative, and I think it also is because, like, watching your Raichu do things, I think that people who have a middling understanding of Pokemon it was very easy to understand, like, what the Raichu was doing and how it was functioning in your team, even though it was a Raichu and wasn't seen that much. Whereas Seijin, if you don't understand specifically why it was chosen, you just see it eat a Draco Meteor and live, and you're like, I don't understand why this is happening. It seemed almost mystical to people who did
that makes
not
sense.
know
it played a big role in the game as well. It's something worth noting.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like Raichu was supporting, but not in the same way that Pachirisu was eating, delicious meteors.
But
I've seen like comic adaptations of the moment where it eats the Draco Meteor.
Yeah, I've seen
like it's very good.
I do love that you brought up narrative too, though, because the runner-up that year, Joidy Azarelli, also had an anti-meta team and a weird team that just got fucked by Seijin. I mean, Joidy ran.
Is it? I thought it was. I've been saying it. Is it Joidy or I thought it was Jody?
Jody. Oh, it's probably Jody.
Jody. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong.
It's totally Jody. You're 100% right.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, Jody brought double megas, and Jody brought Lucario.
Yeah, he had Lucario. Yeah,
he brought
Rotom Cut, right?
Rotom Mo. Yeah.
Right. There was a Rotom Mo. That was the last Pokemon.
Yeah, he had a really cool anti-meta team. And Charizard Y, because I wrote about it a while ago, was like almost as good an anti-meta pick as Pachirisu for that tournament because everyone ended up figuring out like that it was going to be able to beat Mawile and that Kangaskhan was going to get not used as much, and and that's what Jody figured out, and he used it for that, and that's why he ended up doing so well with Charizard Y, which had like completely fallen off the map before Worlds. It dominated the early part of the season, and then right before Worlds, everyone was saying, you can go look at the Nugget Bridge articles, like, wow, Charizard just, where did it fucking go? And then Jody figured out.
Well, it's just because, like, I mean, Rock Slide's used a lot in VGC, right? I feel like that would be at least a portion of it.
It was more that people started to figure out how good Kangaskhan was, and Kangaskhan with Fake Out does a lot, like, that. This is old Kangaskhan.
Does a lot of damage.
Does a lot of damage, and that was when Power Punch Kangaskhan was good, was, like, used as well, God. And so, and, like, there was a lot of, I mean, it's been a while since 2014, but I remember a lot of like Kangaskhan Amoonguss, a lot of Tyranitar. I mean, and also Alex Igloza won nationals that year with the Rain team, right? With a Rain team that Seijin, actually talking about Seijin again, was either very similar or the exact one that Seijin used, I believe, with Politoed, Ludicolo, Aegislash, Hydreigon. I believe it was Kangaskhan, and I forget the last one, but yeah, it was Alex's win. And you can throw Politoed in a team, and Charizard Y becomes a lot more difficult to use.
Yeah.
There was something going around that people were calling the Japanese Sand Team, where Tyranitar picked up steam at the very end of the season, and Tyranitar is Charizard's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and Politoed.
Yeah, because it takes away sand, and then also, like, Charizard can't kill it, especially in sand.
Yeah.
With a special defense boost.
Yeah, so, because the only way it can kill it normally is with Solar Beam, but, like,
and even that is iffy.
If your sun's not up.
Yeah, so Tyranitar had become really, really popular, Tyranitar Garchomp specifically. and that was what dropped Charizard out of the meta. So Jody just put them both on his team with Charizard, and then he used Rotom Mow and Lucario to improve his matchup against the Sand team, and then he went Charizard mode otherwise. So
nice.
It was a cool team.
What Jody figured out was that double Mega was the way to make Charizard work.
Right.
And that's how he managed to make it work.
Because they don't just that way they're not just over prepared for your obvious Charizard.
Well, it's like if they have like Charizard is very good except for its bad matchups. So if you have a bad matchup with Charizard, just go Lucario. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. That one thing that you brought up with that discussion is just like how narrative builds and how narrative is important. And like as someone who doesn't play professionally, narrative has been like a big part of what builds my enthusiasm around a particular season. Because like Sage and Park's win got me really, really interested in VGC, and then watching the chalk teams got me really uninterested in VGC. Because when I'm seeing the same Pokemon, obviously there's a little more going on under the hood, but for like a really casual viewer, it just doesn't seem as interesting. It's like how like a double Fox matchup in Melee is seen as like, you know, the ultimate thing to make fun of when talking about Melee. But if I say that to Zane, he'll kill me.
Right.
It's also it's a little bit sillier to say it about Melee than Pokemon. I do think that's true because like in Pokemon there might be more going on under the hood, but like listen, there is the misconception about 2015 that it was all chalk all the time, and that's really not what happened. But at the end of the day, when those chalk teams came to town, they were very similar. And so the cool thing that comes about is seeing. In one way, you can say, okay, what is the thing that sets these teams apart? Like the second place at VGC 2015 had Volcarona in place of Heatran, and he was using that as roll compression for the fire type and Amoonguss with Rage Powder. And so, you know, there's something cool with that. What does he use that sets it apart? How do they play the same team in different ways? But at the end of the day, Pokemon are limited in what they can do. That's just a function of it. And Smash characters are not limited.
Wait, I was going to say the opposite thing.
What do you think?
Well, I was going to say the exact opposite thing, right? Like a fox is always a fox, right? Like how you move the fox, right? What you do with it is your choice, but you have a literal like limited number of options,
that's true.
Right?
That's
but in
true.
Pokemon, like a lot of the interesting things in a mirror match in Pokemon comes down to the specific EV spreads, right? Like how like the speed stat.
The hood.
Exactly, like the speed stat, for example. Who's moving first? Who's Incineroar is moving first? Who's Thundurus is moving first? Because if your Thundurus is faster and you could taunt the other one, right? This is Gen 5 paralysis, baby. Like we're not talking like, you know, New Age Thunderwave. We've got like you can paralyze Thundurus if you can move first, right? Or if you can taunt it first, right?
Right.
How bulky are your Pokemon, right? Can you survive like with Shuka Berry? How much damage do you take from Landorus Earthquake? Like there's a lot of stuff going on that people like don't. That as someone who plays competitively is really frustrating, right? Because if there's similar Pokemon on both teams, but they're used in totally different ways, or even if they're used in similar ways, but the specific decisions that are being made, like that's going to influence the game and like massively. And I know it's not obvious, right? But like,
I think that's the real difference, right? Because like, let's continue this comparison because it's kind of working. In Smash Bros, the permutations of your movement are something that's immediately visible to the viewer. Like if someone is playing Fox differently than you normally see a Fox, it's completely it's very. I wouldn't say completely obvious, but pretty obvious that they are playing in a different way and that those different play styles are clashing in a way that will result in a victor. But when you have, like, let's say you're literally just watching the VGC stream and you see, like, Garchomp something, and you don't know what's going on under the hood, you can't see that information, then it's not as obvious to you, and I guess that's the difference is how things will appear to the casual viewer versus the viewer that might know a little more that's going on, which is one thing that I've really appreciated about having like really good commentary on the VGC matches. Like it wasn't always as good as it is now. For sure. Like when people will start bringing up like the bulkiness of the EV spreads and the different permutations of that Pokemon that can run. Like I've always really enjoyed Aaron on mic, and that's it's clear, it's obvious why they keep going back for him because he's very knowledgeable and really puts that knowledge to use.
Yeah,
and
I think actually I totally agree with everything Wolf said, and I feel like I just did I think maybe instead of saying limited, the word might be like determined. Like there are aspects of Pokemon that are predetermined.
Yeah, you can't change
once you get into tournament.
Right, yeah. Once you're in the tournament, it's deterministic. You can't make as much choices on the fly because you have to have this team locked in on day one. At least for VGC.
And so that's what's interesting to the seasoned viewer is then seeing how they play around the predetermined, and that's what I was trying to say. But to an amateur viewer who comes across like it is not that appealing. And I think that melee characters are limited, but the game is so close to unlimited in the choices that you have. Mm-hmm. Like you could make a decision tree for each individual turn of Pokemon, and it's like not possible for melee in certain
No, it would be too big.
But okay, but here's the thing. We're talking about like casual viewers, right? Like I know when I first started watching melee, like I couldn't really identify things that were going on, right? There's a lot of tech that like influences how people move, right?
That's a good point.
I feel like I honestly think again this is more about like the game itself. Nobody watches melee because they want to see like their favorite character win, right? That's not really something like it's not something that I've heard like, oh man, I really love Roy,
Yeah,
I personally will just root for any Pikachu that I see running a melee tournament.
Sure, but that's not like that's rooting versus watching, right? Like if you if you're tuning into a melee tournament and it's not literally your first time ever watching, you're probably not going for like seeing and like your favorite character because there's only 27 characters. Yeah, right. Whereas it's part of and both Pokemon, like I guess because there's so many Pokemon, people feel like you should be able to win with anything, right? And so I think that also plays into it. But it's something that's been super frustrating as a competitive player because also like when you do cool stuff, like you're not always praised for it either. It just like I got second at Worlds with Executor. Like nobody really cares, And so it's like, and even when you're doing really creative stuff, when you're using really weird sets of Pokemon, right? Like when I won regionals with offensive Thundurus after bulky Thundurus had been the standard for like forever, and I had Nasty Plot, sub Thundurus, like nobody cared, right? They didn't care that I was doing really cool stuff with my Thundurus. They just cared that he's using Thundurus again, So I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a competitive player. I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen what your mentions look like. So
yeah,
people are never really easy on this kind of stuff, mostly because they're not fully understanding what's going on behind the hood.
Yeah.
And I that's what like something that's always important in anything that's going to be an esport is how these narratives shake out. So that's why that's what the one thing I was really excited with the limited decks in Sword and Shield was just the real full limited decks. Like there's just some stuff that's just not there at all, and you can't bring it. And it was really exciting just to see like the new possibilities that would come to the forefront, build a different kind of narrative. But of course, the dominating narrative that came on in Pokemon fandom is just Dexit.
I think narrative is really what ties it all together, and it's something Wolf and I have talked about a lot with regards to Pokemon. In that like something that the Smash scene has done so remarkably well over the years is spread their own narrative and mythology when they have no funding, no backing whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I know that there are so many people who become fans of a player because they see their write-up on the top 100 list and think, oh, an interesting, like I don't know this person, but they seem interesting. They're a bit of an underdog. It's nice to root for the underdog. They sound like they have a cool playstyle. I'll go check out some VODs, etc., etc. And so Smash, along with the documentary and all of the highly produced content that has been behind it, has done an amazing job of propelling its own narrative. And Pokemon, while I love the scene, has not done as good a job.
Not at all.
Yeah, and it's something that Wolf and I have talked about a lot. It's something that I'm trying to make a little bit of efforts to change a little bit. Like Wolf and I have been talking about doing a mini documentary episode on Wolf, basically like who is Wolf Glick for a while. I'm probably going to do one on Aaron Traylor first. Actually, I'm like interviewing him tomorrow. So
excellent.
Nice.
Spoilers for that. But like that's really easy. That's like such an easy sell of like how Charizard won the biggest modern Pokemon tournament. Like it's so easy to do something with that. And it just hasn't happened yet. And way back at the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about personalities in Pokemon, and Wolf saying that there are tons of personalities, but they just don't get the exposure. And that's like the part that I think really needs to happen for Pokemon, because I guarantee you there are tons of fans of Wolf who sit down to watch Wolf at a tournament who don't know that Wolf plays a defensive style. Like, a huge portion. And that's not a slight against Wolf in any way.
We bulky boys!
But what I'm saying is that the same narratives of playstyle and preference don't exist in Pokemon. Like, Ashton Cox should be the most popular Pokemon player in the world. Like, if the Pokemon community had spread its narratives correctly, Ashton would be the fan favorite. Like, he just would be.
Is there anyone really building like narrative anymore? Because I know that was something that was. It kind of happened with Nugget Bridge, but then when there's less Nugget Bridge, it wasn't really around anymore.
So we had. I don't know how much narrative Nugget Bridge built more like it just was like a really great resource and like was good for the community as a whole. I don't. It wasn't
community
like
makes the narrative happen is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's fair.
Well, you get the odd like community report on there, but yeah, no, it was.
No, there were lots of reports back in the day. We had. I want to shout out Giovanni Costa, Gio, who was doing some amazing stuff where he put a ton of time in and do like some cool player profiles and is like an amazing videographer. But his videos didn't really get much traction or much support. Like they did well, but like not well enough to justify the 40 hours or whatever he was putting into them.
Right.
You know? No, I don't really think we have much narrative being built. I mean, you have Aaron and myself making content and other people making content as well. But we've never really, how, right? How do you build narrative is a difficult question, you know?
Right.
I think it's just a matter of talking about it. I think the best narrative building video I've seen made by someone, one of the best ones I've seen made by someone in the Pokemon community is it's Marcus Statter. Just sitting down with the image of all the top teams throughout the years, and he's just talking about it and talking about who the players are.
Yeah.
And that
that's
video
really cool.
has a ton of views. And it's literally just Marcus with OBS and a static image open. He doesn't even he pulls up a VOD once or twice. Again, this is not I don't think Marcus realized how much people would be interested in it, but it's just.
I have to remind you to link me that later so I can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, sure, but it's just about talking about it more in a more public fashion and doing stuff like that.
I guess it's just a volume thing, right? Like both in like amount of content and also just like the reach of that content. And Wolf, I think you're doing really great work with your like daily videos that you're putting out now, because they're all talking about things as they happen, and it's been cool to watch them when I've seen them on my recommended videos. Although I don't watch enough YouTube to watch a half-hour video every day, but
yeah, I mean, I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, no, it's been very cool to have that stuff building up. Aaron's videos have always been good, like the Road to Ranked stuff has always been really good for building throughout the VGC season, and I don't know, like it doesn't seem like centralizing it would be like something that anyone could reasonably do. So I guess it's just more people making it and networking with each other and building together is kind of how it has to go. But it's how you build the narrative is really the question.
I think, Wolf, I know you're always looking for ideas for content and stuff, and I think that a type of video that you could do really well and probably do better than the high production value ones Kellen and I are trying to make is you know how when we were talking about when Wolf and I were talking about who should be the coaches for the league, he was like, "Oh, Eduardo Cunha. Eduardo Cunha, no one knows how good this guy is. He's so innovative. He's so good. And he's trying to make content. This should be the guy." I think if you just rambled about that and gave it a clickbaity title, it would do really well.
The best
VGC
Pokemon player people don't know about. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Literally just do that. And then because you are now one of the de facto media sources of propaganda for VGC, people would be informed.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, it's something I could definitely think about.
Player profiles of that ilk would be really cool. I'm gonna try to get more people on the podcast for sure, because that's one thing that it's just having a nice central place to talk to people, and even just networking with some of the other Pokemon podcasts, which I've done sparingly so far, but not as much as I'd like to. Because I know Soundproof Cast has been doing a lot of really good stuff about VGC lately, and their show art is really cute.
Wolf, you said you did do a player profile?
I did one on. So back in the day, a certain YouTuber went after a very well-known, well-liked, and amazing person, Joshua Lorcy. He had been trained to Pokemon in like a Pokeball that wasn't legal and bred it down, and like he was like working a ton and didn't have time. Didn't like realize the ball wasn't legal, and so like basically this narrative had been shared about him that he was like a cheater, right? And that he was a bad person. And
is this the same person who routinely calls you a cheater? Am I thinking of the same person?
It might be. I mean, who can never be sure? But anyway, and we were at London at the time, and Josh was really like upset about it, and so I was like, "Yo, like let's sit down." And I had some help from other people at the time, and I was like, "Let's tell your story." It was like just an 11-minute video of him telling a story on my channel. But yeah, I've done that before, and I mean, I hope that it was helpful to him to have like at least another side, right? And that was more of a response to something where one person says this person's Batman, and then you say, hey, I'm not Batman, and then at least there's both sides of it, and people can choose what they want. But yeah,
that was also when your channel was way smaller, and you were doing a video every day. So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's. I think Reach is definitely a part of it about building like fostering the community. It also just seems like the community can be a little splintered. Like it's in a lot of different places at once.
Yeah, I'm honestly not really a part of the VGC community at the moment. Right. Actually, fun fact, like just like of the people who like seriously play hardcore, like I'm not a part of that at the moment.
Well, okay, wait. You have to clarify that because you helped team build for the guy who just won the biggest tournament of all time.
I have like my
you guys all built together.
Right. I have like the way that I've kind of always operated is like I have like my friends and the people who I am like close with. And I like talk, I'm involved with them and they're amazing people, and I'm very, very lucky to have them. But I don't really I've always kept my circle close just because I've always been a player who I've been high profile since my first tournament when I won, and so because of that, people have always been interested in like what I'm doing and in my preparations, and so I've always kept my circle close for that reason. And recently, like speaking of narrative within the community, there like people who do not like me for their own personal reasons have been spreading narratives about me. And, people are looking for reasons not to like the people at the top. Right. And so because of that, like people, if someone says, okay, hey, I heard Wolf did this thing. Right. And then they say, hey, Wolf did this thing. Nobody cares if it's true or not. Right. Like people are looking for a reason not to like the people at the top. And especially like somebody like, Batman, like, or especially me. Right. Because I don't like I said, I keep my circles close, right? I don't always interact with like that many people. So it's like, and nobody comes to me and says, hey, Wolf, I heard this thing about you. Is it true? Like, no, they're not going to do that. They're just going to be like, oh, Wolf's very bad. And then these narratives spread and they snowball.
And they'll literally like tag you on Twitter with it too.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah. Oh, like, wow. Like Wolf is so bad. Here's all the bad things you do. And they tag me and it's like, I didn't do this. Right. But nobody cares about that. Right.
And there's like, it's almost just pointless to try to fight that kind of thing.
Yeah. So for that reason,
I guess that's another thing that kind of that kind of has negatively impacted Pokemon community building is that there are just a lot of clickbait types whose entire they want to run everything off of manufactured controversy.
Yeah, go ahead, Zane.
I say this in knowing it sounds like a big overstatement, but it's 100% not. What Wolf did in the past year is probably going to save the Pokemon community. Like, I'm really, really serious about that. Because the Pokemon community's biggest enemy for a long time was the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
And related to other things, not just the fact that Wolf has started uploading consistently, but the fact that Wolf has uploaded consistently is a big reason now why when you search Pokemon VGC, you actually get videos about it and about Pokemon and about
right, and not just like this VGC player is a dirty hacker by V Word, who shall not be named.
So I really do think like not to make Wolf the fucking messiah, but,
no, I'm not.
but it really is true that and it's a long-term thing because I mean Aaron used to upload all the time too, so it was YouTube algorithm switching finally too. But the fact that now control of the algorithm has been wrested from the evil forces that maintained it, it's actually a really big deal. And so now if Wolf were to make, like I said, a narrative video about a Pokemon player, said Pokemon player could be good man who everyone loves instead of just no one watching the video.
I'm so excited for the concept of building more good men. Let's get Goodman out there.
There's some incredible people in the community, and I do want to say, like, it's not like I'm flawless, right? Like, I've definitely made mistakes in the past, but it's not to the level of what I was describing. But thank you, Zane. I wasn't saying that to get, like, I don't know. I wasn't saying. I hope I wasn't saying that to, like, get praise or anything. It's just like
Full Restore is now an official arm of the Wolfie Quick propaganda.
The propaganda machine.
I'm replacing all the site icons with Mr. Fish. It's fish time.
It's fish time, baby.
That should just be done no matter what.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'll probably sneak him into the show art just for this episode. I'll get Golurk to draw him in.
Very nice.
Good idea. What were you saying, Wolf, before I made a propaganda joke?
No, I think I was pretty much saying that, which is that you were saying, I think you were talking about how the community is splintered, and I was like, yeah, actually, on the topic of it being splintered, I it's not beneficial to anybody, in my videos for me to say, like, hey guys, like, I like actually am like really like harassed pretty like frequently by the competitive community, right? Like, it'd be true, right? Like, people like who I don't know, I've never spoken to, like, make hate tweets about me that I see, and that I've stopped seeing because thank you, mute button, very cool.
It's so good.
Yeah, like it happens frequently, right? But like, I'm not going to push that. I'm not going to talk about that because it doesn't benefit anybody, right? Like, it's like, no, it's pushing a narrative that, even though it's true, and even though like I could probably send vitriol towards people who like hate me unfairly, I don't want to do that, because then that changes the narrative, right? Then it says, okay, the Pokemon community is bad. Look how people treat, this, like, for better or for worse, like, I am popular, right? Like, I am a popular VGC player. And so, yeah, like, but it is splintered. And I don't know, like, maybe the community, the rest of the community, that part that like hates me, maybe they're all like, together and happy-go-lucky or whatever. And like, they're all doing great. But at least from my perspective, it does feel pretty splintered. And I want to say part of it's just Twitter culture, dude. Like, part of it is just like, on forums, like, there weren't likes, or there were likes, but it didn't matter in the same way, right? Like, everyone's just trying to get that sweet serotonin boost from like, getting the positive interactions, and like
the likes didn't make your post appear more.
You can't talk to Matt and I about forums, dude. We're gonna.
You don't like forums?
That's where we met.
Love forums.
Oh, I love
forums. We are deep forum posters. I still was running a forum up until like last year.
They're so dead, dude. I'm so sorry, but they're so dead.
Yeah. No,
oh my god! Every time that me and Zane go back and look at the old Pokemon Factory community board, it just feels so sad.
My first ever interaction with Matt was that. So we both at different periods helped run Pokemon Factory, which was a Fakemon community of just building Fakemon and stuff. But Matt left for a really long time in the time that I, an illustrious 14-year-old, rose to power. And so,
oh god, that sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Look, I joined Pokemon Factory when I was 11, you can find my old posts on there, and they are not flattering.
I mean, but there was also a running joke about how fun it was to bully young Matt. Like
yeah,
because he was young.
Oh god.
But when Matt finally came back, I don't know, Matt was like, what, like 18, 19 or something? Like,
yeah.
And Matt said the fuck word. And I had to DM Matt.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this.
Hey, we don't use the fuck word. It was really funny.
I am very much a frequent internet cusser, and I completely forgot about that interaction.
So
very good.
That's hilarious.
Funny. Yeah. Golurk and I like beefed. Golurk, who is now
the artist.
Yes.
They're super talented.
I was about to say coming to prominence. Thank God. So Golurk, I've known for also 10 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
He drew the show art. If you haven't seen it.
Yeah. And
it's very
I've also
good.
just been drawing a ton of stuff on Twitter, and he's insanely gifted. Fun fact: we bought Golurk his tablet. He drew on trackpad for the first like 5 years of his internet art career, and then we bought him his tablet so he
That's so nice.
gift it to the world. Yeah,
God bless.
But like we really go back, and Golurk and I at one point beefed because on said Pokemon Fakemon forum, he wanted to give a Pokemon that was a steam-powered giraffe an ability based on Nikola Tesla, and I said like, this isn't actually how Nikola Tesla's invention worked. And then he was like, I hate people who just need to be all about the facts and Pokemon and suck the fun out of everything, which he was 100% right about. But 14-year-old Golurk Zane like beefed.
I genuinely cannot wait for him to listen to this and then mention that in chat.
I mean,
'cause that's
we talk
beautiful.
about that. We talk about that all the time because we go back to the posts and we both cringe at how awful we were.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun of forums, is that it's just finding old posts, finding your
Yeah.
old self. And yeah, no, I think just as a community they're a lot better because they're not as engagement based. Like, it's whatever the newest post is at the top, and then everything's threaded down. I think Discord has been like a relatively decent.
But it's not public, is the thing. Discord is good, but it's not like, like if people want to be involved in the VGC community, all the Discord happens on Twitter, which is not great.
Not ideal.
Not ideal.
It's too
talked-
impermanent.
It's also why people don't know. And I talked about this in the very, very first episode of my podcast, Analog, about Smash. And we were talking about a similar problem of like the Smash community moving to Twitter. Whereas previously it had been on Smashboards, and even Facebook was better beforehand. Now Facebook would be useless as well,
Right.
because in groups. But basically it's because the internet broke time.
Yeah.
That things are no longer sorted chronologically. Like,
Yeah.
that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
100%.
It's literally only Tumblr. It's just Tumblr. That's the only thing left.
Well, but even that, I mean, that,
Tumblr's not a good website. I'm not gonna say it is, but the only reason why they don't have an algorithmic timeline is because I'm sure they do not know how to make it.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you think of, I mean, Nugget Bridge had forums, but also like what I was saying earlier about community builds narrative, it's all tied to this, and Nugget Bridge at least had articles that came out in a chronological fashion, and even that is a chronology that gives people a timeline to latch onto. It keeps things in order. Our brains don't move in the same ways anymore. Like, I know I'm sounding very conspiracy, like,
I'll give you your
I mean, okay,
Big
I'm
ranty man
deep in
about
politics Twitter right now, so nothing can sound more conspiracy brain than that.
But our the way that we process just the movement of discussion is now different between every person because you get a different timeline based on which tweet thread you go through. Whereas when you were on forums and stuff, the discussion at least was the same. Like, if you read the same thread, everyone read the same thread.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the internet broke time, and it fucked everything up.
Yeah, because even I think in a lot of ways Reddit is very comparable to was very comparable to forums before. It was all like upvote algorithms, just because everything was threaded.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I think it really is kind of just the lack of threading and the lack of chronology that really kind of kills stuff.
Yeah, and the like engagement culture, right? Like we had likes on forums, but that wasn't like the determinant of whether a post was good, you know?
It was just to watch the numbers go up. That was it.
Yeah. So like, like now people don't make posts because they want to have good discussions. Also, there is no discussion, right? Or there's nowhere near as much discussion. Like, there's the point of like a thread was to have, I remember posting on threads and people were like, hey, what do you think about this? And like everyone in the community would give their thoughts on it. But now it's like, there's not discussion, and that's and the point of a post is not to spark discussion, it's to get likes or retweets or engagement in general.
Yeah, I mean, not to make it a VGC versus singles thing, but interestingly enough, something else that I've been wanting to do for a while, along with highlighting the VGC players who have not had their narrative spread, is to highlight Smogon singles players, because Smogon singles has arguably done a better job of building narrative and community than the VGC community.
Yeah, I agree.
If only just because it's in one place, right?
And what that led to is, like, when the Smog was still going, the magazine, you would have player profiles. People would just take it upon themselves to interview players and, like, put up a little interview with this player, letting you know who they are. It's actually really interesting because from the outside looking in, I think a lot of people think of Smogon as this really disparate Wild West place where there's just, like, too many people to nail down. And it could not be more different. I mean, the consistent players in tournament all know each other, and they know each other's styles, and there are narratives around the players and how good they are at different formats and all that sort of stuff. And so that's something where those narratives do exist and they are spread and understood, but it's just never made its way outside of Smogon because it's never had a reason to. So,
Well, Zane, I do run a Pokemon podcast, and you know me.
I
So,
do. But I mean,
drag one of them over.
I'm not an insider to that community either, but I'm gonna. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll talk.
Making inroads.
Yeah, I think the perception of Smogon ends up really negative on the outside because they don't understand. A lot of people don't understand the purpose of bans.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one of the questions we got this week, I might as well just say it outright, is from my friend Colin. How can we punish Smogon for breaching the Geneva Convention, R.E. Darmanitan, because Darmanitan's his favorite Pokemon, and he's over in Ubers, but, like, if you're playing against Darmanitan, you understand why he's in Ubers.
Banning Darmanitan was signing the Geneva Convention. Like, it was literally taking unethical weapons of war and sequestering them. Like, that is
Guerrilla tactics is a war crime.
we're
saying
the name, guys.
That's episode title.
Yeah. Wolf, you have thoughts?
What's the question?
Just thoughts.
Darmanitan band. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I started on Smogon. Well, technically, where did I start? I really got involved in competitive on Cerebi forums where they had a battle league, and this guy named Skynet I beat, but then he was friends with people, and so he lied and said he beat me, but I had the logs, and then
oh my god, was that one? What was it running on then? Was it like Shoddy Battle?
No, it was Wi-Fi. Oh wait, no, it was Pokemon Online. It was Pokemon Online. This
okay.
2010 or 2011. Yeah, and then I left, and then I was on Maryland for a little bit, and then I ended up on Smogon, and that's how I found out about VGC. There was a thread, there was like a tournament sub forum, and I went there, and then it said like, oh, VGC tournament in like Washington DC area, and I was like, wait, I live there, and so yeah, and then I won. But yeah, like I started, I don't like, yeah. So Mogan, it really feels like they don't really interact much outside of their community. And to be fair, I don't know if they have a reason to, right? Like they're doing their own thing and they're having fun. So like, I don't know.
No, they don't really have a reason to.
I feel
it's like a lot of people aren't necessarily interested in the narratives outside. They're just interested in playing the game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good also that they have people like Pokemon. Obviously, is a big one who plays like those formats like really competitively and is very good, very very good. I imagine that's probably good because I know like he's probably like. He's to Smogon probably as I am to VGC right now, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's definitely him. And then I don't know who the Blunder analog for VGC would be.
I do not know.
It's always it's interesting looking at the communities from the outside because I know I do follow a lot of people for things I don't necessarily follow. Like I follow the guy who won the fucking Pokemon Go battle tournament that they had at Worlds last year.
Yo, that was sick.
That was very good.
That was so sick. I was so into that.
There's a whole meta there, and it blows my mind because I do not understand it at all. And that's one thing that I definitely want to look into a little more because it's like it's something that has such a potentially large user base because a bajillion people play Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Even now to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Pokemon.
I was very excited just now to look up Maryland and to find that it does indeed still exist. So that's nice.
Oh yeah, Maryland shows up to events and stuff all the time too.
Oh, that's sick.
He's a nice guy.
It's good to see that a lot of like the Pokemon websites are still around just because like largely on the internet websites barely exist anymore. It's all platforms.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disheartening. It's like it's prohibitively expensive to have your own space compared to what it was like 10, 15 years ago where you can like very easily get stuff like that and have it set up pretty quickly.
When Wolf said earlier, the golden age of Pokemon was like 13, 14, 15.
12 is so good.
Okay, sorry, but there was a certain website that was operating for those years that, Nugget Bridge was like...
Okay, speaking of narrative changing, I said 12 and 13, but no, I agree. I think...
Okay, my bad.
Well, yeah, Nugget Bridge, I got cited a lot by me in like the early days of this podcast, like way back in 2016. It was 4 goddamn years ago.
Yeah.
But still, like, it's something that I brought up a lot because it was really easy to follow. It was really easy to get the chronology of it. If I wanted to talk about like recent events... They were in chronological order, so I could be like, oh, hey, what do the teams look like at this tournament? Now there are still sites for it. Like, I have Pikalytics open right now, and I have VGC Stats open right now, both really good sites that use slightly different methodologies, but...
Trainer Tower, too. Trainer Tower is the closest to what Nugget Bridge was.
I wouldn't compare. Yeah, it's the closest.
Yeah, but it's not the same for sure.
They're doing
It's
different
nowhere the
things.
Yeah.
And then like Dragon Free's still out there. That's another website that still exists.
Never heard of that.
true. Yeah.
I actually have
Quest
her
for the
queued to be on the
Legends.
podcast.
Really?
Yeah, she agreed to come on.
This is the home of the most popular Pokemon fan fiction on the internet, Wolf.
Oh, I'm glad I've never. I mean, no comment.
I did read all of the Quest for the Legends. It finished like 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think that what Pokemon is dealing with, I mean, it's just impossible not to compare it to Smash because the circumstances of its birth and subsequent abandonment are so similar.
I mean,
Nintendo doesn't give a fuck, right?
Say, well,
Is that what it is?
They give more of a fuck about Pokemon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
Pokemon
feel
has
like
had a harder time.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's totally fair to say that we've been like abandoned, but it's also Pokemon is so slow to enact any changes, but it is getting better. If you compare 2011 to 2020, it's night and day, right? But then again, we have a regional, the biggest regional of modern era, not all time, but pretty close to it, right? Effectively the biggest, if not number in magnitude, you know what I'm saying? Like the most important tournament of all time was Dallas. They streamed 4 rounds day one.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Yeah, that was something.
No top 32, no top 16, top 1, top 8, and then the rest of the tournament. Like, and we have it's not grass, and they they wouldn't let a grassroots streamer stream it because Pokemon was streaming it, right? And like it changes, but it is getting better. If you compare 2011 to 2020, it's night and day, right? But then again, we have a regional, the biggest regional of modern era, not all time, but pretty close to it, right? Effectively the biggest, if not number in magnitude, you know what I'm saying? Like the most important tournament of all time was Dallas. They streamed 4 rounds day one.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Yeah, that was something.
No top 32, no top 16, top 1, top 8, and then the rest of the tournament. Like, and we have it's not grass, and they they wouldn't let a grassroots streamer stream it because Pokemon was streaming it, right? And like we have no say in stuff like that. We have no. And we wouldn't have tournaments without them, but also we have no because of that we have no chance to run it our own way.
Well, yeah, because they kind of have themselves like clamped over everything by making everything gated by like your championship points, right? So it has to follow the tournament rules and everything that they have set up, and
I mean they run the circuit,
like your own Pokemon. Everything's run by them.
The thing is, you would have tournaments without them, but it would look different.
It would look very different.
I think that the problem that Pokemon has always faced is that it's always had the same issues of Nintendo being reluctant to support a competitive scene, which they are finally coming around on. And they did establish the competitive VGC scene, so props to them. And they've always supported it in their own way. But the fact that Smash was just forsaken by Nintendo is why Smashers took it upon themselves to make all of the stuff that they did.
Yeah.
And VGC players have always been nominally supported but maybe not to the degree that they want. And so there hasn't been the same grassroots community building to the same degree in Pokemon as there has been in Smash.
Specifically for VGC, because I guess like really the only way you're running singles tournaments or anything with singles is grassroots, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's the only way it's going to happen at all, because, like, they don't even balance their game around singles anymore. And that's why things like bans exist.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamax is not a good mechanic in singles, I will tell you that much.
It's terrible.
I mean, that's a perfectly good spot for me to transition to the questions we got, because, like, the first question is, do you enjoy Dynamaxing Pokemon?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it's a great mechanic. Let's go. I mean, honestly, I maybe would have been okay without it. Like, I think the format would have still been really good without Dynamax, but given how badly it could have messed everything up, I'm going to say we'll take it. I'm happy.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Dynamax, I mean, in singles, it's really bad.
In singles, oh god, yeah, get out. Yeah, no.
And there are certain things about it I would still change that I think could be true for both doubles and singles. Like, getting your choice lock removed I don't know why that happens.
No, I think it makes sense, because if you don't remove the lock, then you don't remove the boost either, right?
Yeah.
You want to deal with choice scarf, Germanitan?
It does get rid of the boost, right?
It does. Remove it.
Yeah, okay, I thought so.
You're holding no item.
It just ends up. It makes for niche edge cases that are silly and broken. But but my favorite thing about Dynamax is that you get to. I mean, Pokemon's been trying to build a metagame that is revolved around like different game states in like terrain and like trick room and weather for a really long time.
Yeah.
And the fact that now you don't have to use one of 6 Pokemon to do that is really cool. Like the fact that you don't need to use Pincurchin to counter Spore because you can
Max Lightning with Duraludon, exactly. That's how we beat Sleep Powder at regionals.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's actually really, really cool. I like it a lot.
I agree.
That you're able to move into what is clearly what Pokemon has intended to be the deep play and counterplay of Pokemon for like 3 years now, and it finally feels as if it is.
We made it. We did it.
What are some of the changes you'd make to it? I guess to start, what would some changes be that you would make to make it work better in singles?
Oh, and so God, in singles, there's no saving it. Like in singles,
even like reducing some of the boosts, making the moves
singles,
have strength,
maybe
like something like that.
Maybe if in singles, how could you fix it in singles without
guard on turn 1? You have to use Max Guard on turn 1, like that.
Yeah,
it wouldn't save it, but it would make it slightly better.
Like if you could. I have honestly, dude, it can't be saved. Like you couldn't save it in singles without ruining it in doubles, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, like, if it would be possible to have them work slightly differently between singles and doubles, which I know is not really something that Game Freak does, but you know, speaking in pure theory purposes here,
like
if we were
all moves could function like fighting and poison moves, where they cap at 95 and don't get it. Like, and sometimes they're like they're not always like as strong.
Right.
That could be interesting.
I think if Dynamax lasted 4 turns, but the first turn was like I use Max Guard and this turn just becomes nothing except the opponent can set up or something.
Like what if like on the first turn you can't attack? Like your attack that turn is Dynamaxing. For example.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, I guess that's exactly. But you can take damage while you Dynamax.
Yeah, either way. Yeah. But that could make it so that if you read a Dynamax and set up, you don't just get blown away. Like setting up is actually counterplay to it.
Yeah,
and it would also make for what I think they intended. I think the reason they thought it might work a little bit more in singles is that you can Dynamax to counter a Dynamax.
Right.
But
it's the stat boost. If you take away the stat boost. Maybe then it works in singles, right? Like flying boosting speed.
Yeah. Flying boosting speed was the biggest one for sure.
Yeah.
One of the questions that came through from Heruzefka was, out of all Pokemon available, ones that benefit the most from Dynamax and Gmax, and I feel like that's basically anything that gets the max moves that boost its own stats, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's also things that are frail, like hyper-offensive mons benefit a lot, like offensive Duraludon, Dragapult, those are great Dynamax Pokemon. Things that boost stats, but it's mostly speed, honestly. We haven't seen that much.
So it's the things with Gmax flying, because I mean, on both VGC stats and Pikalytics, they both list Togekiss as number 1 by like a pretty wide margin.
But that's primarily because of support Togekiss, not necessarily offensive.
Not necessarily offensive.
But it also is, I mean, I was going to bring up Togekiss too, because Togekiss gets extra mileage, quote unquote, in the fact that it can Dynamax by the fact that it usually is support Togekiss. So like, like it can do both. Like,
even offensive Togekiss normally runs Follow Me as the 4th move.
Yeah, it does. So like the fact that Togekiss can do both is part of why it's so broken.
Right.
Part of why it's so because I know one thing that works really well with some of the other things near the top, like Duraludon, is just the combination of the steel and the dragon is good for just like tanking physical hits, right? Because you're raising your defense or you're lowering their attack.
I just want to say really quickly, when everyone saw Duraludon, everyone's thought was like, oh, that's the VGC Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Especially when they were like showing it off. When they were showing it off in the video with the what's the room service, the item that no one uses?
No, a jetpack, I think.
They
with
showed it off
Duraludon?
with a jetpack.
Oh yeah, no, they did show it with a jetpack. You're right.
But I think it was the same video as
same video.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, when that Pokemon was revealed, I was like, it's a Steel Dragon type, and it's gonna have the signet. Yeah, okay, so this is where they were like, here's our competitive Pokemon.
Yep, but it's cool. Stalwart is really cool.
No, it is. It's a sick Pokemon.
Stalwart is just a really cool ability. I really like having it around for VGC because it's cool.
Make an item that does it. I don't know if that'd be good or bad, but I want an item that does it.
It'd be interesting to Theorem something like that. Like just this is why I kind of wish that it was slightly easier to mod Showdown, so I could just try it out and see how it would play.
Yeah.
but I find it a complete mess, and I do not understand it at all.
But yeah, I mean, Pokemon that can use the speed boosting move are really good in general. That's like the speed.
And then things that take huge advantage from the extra HP, like Rhyperior being a top threat, is very cool to see because it has historically not been that great.
Yeah,
it's been like fairly decent Trick Room mon. It's been around with weakness policy before, but weakness policy with your HP stat doubled is a lot better than without.
Yeah. No, Rhyperior is great, and both of its stabs effectively boosting its special defense are very good as well. Like, yeah, a lot of
right,
Pokemon,
because setting Sandstorm or just boosting it. Yeah, those are both doing it.
yeah, lots of Pokemon benefit from Dynamax. Excadrill as well, like raising its defenses. Like a lot of Pokemon. Honestly, a lot of Pokemon benefit.
Yeah, it's cool seeing what is at the top, and it's interesting. I'm interested to see how some of the like former VGC threats are going to fare under this kind of environment. Like Incineroar, like obviously it was such a centralizing force in the last couple of years of VGC. Interested to see how it'll cope.
Cat's still good.
Cat's still good. I'm sure it's good.
Cat's still good.
A question from Beckrock Leo on Twitter. No questions, but a suggestion. Scare Wolfie by saying Incineroar.
Ban Incineroar. Buy my merch.
Ban Incineroar. I agree. We were talking earlier about how like the interesting thing in seeing the same Pokemon be used is seeing the sets and the pre-preparation and thing. Mm-hmm. But Incineroar is a Pokemon that just makes your opponent not interact with you. Incineroar is like the Puff of Pokemon.
Oh, it is!
In addition to being like everywhere.
I do like the idea of saying the Puff of Pokemon.
It 100% is because it's like...
No, but just like as if Puff is not literally a Pokemon.
Right. I forgot about that. But Incineroar's job is to make you not move, make your move do less, and then go away, and then
fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. It Puff.
Yep. I don't like Incineroar.
I got one question from Stephanie Age of Oddish, friends of the show. If you can add just one old Pokemon that's not currently available in Sword and Shield to shake up the current meta, what would it be? Politoed?
Give me Politoed. Like, I love Executor too, but give me Politoed would be... They honestly did Rain so dirty.
They did Rain dirty.
They were like, hey, Torkoal, best Sunsetter, Jigglypuff, and Tyranitar, and Hippowdon. Take your pick. We're like, we gave you Vanillix? It's not that good. Okay, here's Ninetales Alola. Oh, also a Abomasnow. Rain, Pelipper, the worst Pokemon ever created.
I've had some fun with Pelipper, and I do like slow U-turns, but no, Politoed, it's the man.
It's
for singles, Breloom would shake things up.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't. I really don't. If it's all the same to you, I'd rather not have any like actual good Spore users in the game. Scarlet Bloom, Sporing Dynamax.
I don't know that I want
Breloom being something that like really relies on his abilities and technician for doing a lot of his damage would be kind of interesting. I guess like the support variants would see a lot more use because they'd
Joey 6-0'd someone last season in WBE by using
Stop it.
Subtoxic.
I'm aware, Zane. I am very aware. Thank you.
So Breloom.
Just to say that it doesn't need technician to 6-0 teams.
Okay, did the supporter bring Bugsy Duosion? Do you remember that?
Man, Duosion's got way too high of a special attack stat for a middle stage.
Duosion was so good.
How did you lose to a Pokemon that just does toxic damage with something that has Magic Guard?
Because I didn't have Eviolite.
Seems pretty bad to me.
I don't even know if I brought Magic Guard.
Seems like a misplay. Oh, what did you bring?
I probably brought Magic Guard. I don't remember.
That one thing that always kind of annoys me with Dynamax is that like Pokemon that have like kind of unique abilities that play on like the effects of moves, like Punk Rock for Toxtricity or Technician and stuff like that, are just kind of like flattened out by the fact that everything just becomes a max move.
Yeah,
I think it'd be kind of
it would be too powerful otherwise.
That was so Joey. I was watching yesterday. Joey and Blunder did one of their like mono random battles where they just run it like for 40 minutes just playing super fast, and the amount of times that Blunder like made himself weaker or like fucked over his choice scarf by Dynamaxing
Yeah.
Dynamax and mono random was so funny. It was so funny.
That's hilarious.
The game
Yeah, the
so
concept
many
that
times.
things can actually get weaker under Dynamax is kind of funny.
Like
It's
Dragovich.
sick. It's sick. It's like
Like
the
Dragovich,
most-
yeah.
It's like the most interesting Mega Evolutions from
Yep.
back in the day. Like when Wolf didn't Mega Evolve his Rayquaza.
Yeah, exactly. Or when Gengar didn't Mega Evolve to keep Levitate.
Yep.
The one thing I would change about Dynamax in specific, and makes me so mad, you can't skill swap a Dynamax Pokemon. And there's so many cool things I could do if you could skill swap, but you can't skill swap them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be a lot more clear in game what moves aren't going to work against a Dynamax Pokemon, because some of them don't really. Cause one example that always really throws me off is that you can use either Circle Throw or Dragon Tail,
For
but you
damage.
can't use and then you can't use the other one.
Wait, really?
Neither of them will force you to switch out, but one of them will still do damage.
I didn't know that.
And
funny.
knockoff doesn't work, for example. That's one thing that does not work against Dynamax.
Wait, knockoff
mons.
doesn't work?
No, because I tried doing it yesterday while in a raid and it did not work.
Oh.
And this stuff isn't clear at all.
That might be raid mechanics specifically, because raid mechanics.
It
are
might
different.
be.
That's a raid mechanic for sure. I know I knocked off Dynamax Pokemon when it was still legal.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know you could trick them. Because we've seen the eject button.
Oh, believe me, you can trick them.
Yeah.
I also think that one way to make it more balanced in singles, this would be dumb in doubles. It would make the metagame very stupid. But if you could phase them, it would be good. But in doubles,
No.
Yeah, I guess if there was a way to make it only happen in singles, then
I don't really want a metagame where Roar is common in doubles. It's
Nope. You
nobody
can-
wants
You
this.
can play 2019 if you want that.
Yeah, it's really bad. But in singles, phasing is
But you wouldn't want just like red card, right? Like you wouldn't want like one Pokemon with red card just to like toxic effects with the red cards. So you can
that's
come
a
in and
good
phase them out.
point. That's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's silly. It's really dumb. I don't know. Maybe red card doesn't work, but phasing moves do. Other phasing moves, which is really really stupid, but it would balance it a little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah, it'd be somewhere to start anyway. Like I can imagine this kind of stuff like maybe getting a tweak under the hood, but like not the way that the way that Game Freak does their tweaks under the hood is only with a new game. Really,
Yeah,
we haven't really
yeah.
seen they've never done mid-gen. Well, I mean they've done mid-gen balance stuff just by like the introduction of new tutors, but never changed
Not mechanics.
like
no.
a mechanic.
No,
I mean
not
they
to my
they
knowledge.
could, but
I don't think they didn't fix the.
But they
Sniper
probably
bug,
won't.
So probably not.
Oh
Yeah.
god. That
here's a question from Enge's Pyro. Do you think old legendaries being added back in the DLC is good for the scene or not? And any tips for newer players for when it happens? So I guess the stuff that's confirmed for the DLC does include Lando.
I think it's fine for the players. Like we play a metagame regardless, but it's probably bad for the scene because the casual viewers don't like legendaries. So overall, it's probably bad.
it's going to have less of an effect on VGC this year because of the.
I wouldn't be so sure. I think they'll probably get added in. They just added Incineroar. Yeah, they added Incineroar in. Like I don't know what's going on, but if they're going to add Incineroar, they're going to add other stuff too. Is my guess.
That's a good point.
I guess just interesting to see. I guess it depends on seeing how that meta develops. Because this just says the scene. It does not specify whether they mean singles or doubles.
They probably mean VGC.
because they probably do mean VGC.
Yeah, I wish for singles it had taken a little bit longer. The meta was fun. I liked the singles meta. It was going to probably get. I don't know. It didn't have time to marinate enough because
Yeah,
people were
let's say-
starting to complain about the fact that a lot of games would devolve into like I can't break your Corviknight and you can't break my Clefable. That was like a really really common endgame situation in singles, but. I don't know. I don't want to play with Lando again. But it basically just boils down to it. It's fine.
Wait, you
Whatever.
don't want to play with Lando in a meta where Hidden Power Ice doesn't exist?
Oh, I hope it can't Dynamax. I don't want to deal with plus special defense, plus speed, Landorus.
All the fucking legendaries being able to Dynamax in like the stuff that's like available to transfer right now is so weird.
I don't like
Like
it.
it just seems like such a weird choice.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It's I don't know. In singles, it was cool, man. Singles was cool. Fucking
Your
did you
home?
play-
Yes, and it was beautiful.
It just seems like they should just kind of let these things marinate a little more before they
Marinati.
add stuff in.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see. I think one thing that makes it feel so bad right now is that it's such a limited amount of Pokemon that are getting added, and so many of them are things that we do not like Cat and Lando.
Well, I mean, Lando's not till the DLC. Cat's just there now.
Oh, is Lando not till DLC?
No, he wasn't in the first set that came out.
Well, then it'll be better then, because other things will be out too, and it'll be interesting. First DLC metagame in singles is going to be really interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see what is going to be part of like the 100-odd Pokemon that they're going to be adding in.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Could be anything.
Except now they're fucking adding Magearna, so actually cancel the game.
delete.
Oh my god, dude. That I'm actually mad about that. Magearna is so fucking
Magearna dumb.
Did you get your original color Magearna yet?
No, I did not. I don't even remember how. I saw the tweet and I
It's so fucking stupid, dude. It's supposed to be for completing.
Laptop.
It's supposed to be for completing your national dex, but just wasn't showing up for people. So you have to like move your Pokemon over and then move them back, like literally shift them by one box, and it makes it appear. And this method is also repeatable. I have 2 now.
Wait, so can I do it with my old is it with the national dex that currently exists, or do I need to get all the home stuff?
National dex and home. So like with everything moved up.
Oh, so I need to go get Blastoise and shit. God damn it.
Yeah.
I don't have Pokemon Home. I can't help you.
You're so valid. There are so many of my friends that just don't want to shell out for it because it is expensive. It's stupid. But I'm a sucker, so I bought it. And so people who wanted stuff that is transferable to Sword and Shield, I was just like, trade it to me in 3DS and I'll move it up for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get your second Magearna, Matt.
Yeah, I'll just give it to you.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's kind of cool looking,
dude. That Pokemon is so busted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Never dealt with it. That would be very bad in doubles, I'll tell you that much.
It's so
Final Gambit, Magearna, plus 2.
Soul Heart, man. Soul Heart is the
Delicious.
ability.
Soul Heart with Fleur Cannon and like the Fairy Z Crystal.
Yeah,
Just a good time for everyone.
At least it doesn't get Twinkle Tackle anymore. That's
No.
actually like a big deal, but it's still like AV Magearna was still annoying enough on its own. So
Right.
It's still gonna be annoying.
Magearna.
It can be Magearna. That one's fine. You can have that one.
No, at this point I only do it to get the rise out of people, so it's always disappointing.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that. Get fucked.
Josh from Panda Global, like, he was like, well, Decky Dewey, you took one of the best Pokemon puns of like Deciduous and Bullseye, and you said Decky Dewey, and I said, yes, Josh. Thank you for messaging me.
I missed that one, thankfully. And
Decky
now I
Dewey.
meant to-
My personal faves are just anywhere where you can get 2 J sounds. So if you do
Genjar.
Gigolith and Genjar,
I like Jigglypuff,
Genjar.
though. I like that it's not consistent.
yeah,
I
no,
think-
that also works.
I think Genjar is way funnier than Jigglypuff.
I mean, Jigglypuff that's just a good mouth feel. It feels good coming out. It's fun to say.
I appreciate Genjar because of how Wolf won WBE with it last season.
Death Fodder.
In the dumbest way possible.
It was so good. It finally did something. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, that was good. That was a funny battle. Watch Wolf play WBE. Wolf playing WBE, especially this season, is really funny.
I have a match in 10 minutes, so we might have to wrap up on that note.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
I also
We're
very
almost
much
done.
have to use the bathroom.
I'll just do. I think there's like 2 more. They'll be pretty quick. As a follow up to this Steph's question about the Pokemon you want to bring in, is there a Pokemon you absolutely do not want to see show up?
Incineroar. Ban him. It's not too late, everybody. Buy my merch. Maybe we can stop him.
Yeah, cat over. I would also, even though I'm a singles player, for the good of Pokemon, I would also say cat over Lando.
So we're just gonna retroactively patch it out.
I can't believe people thought that Pokemon, like, they weren't going to bring back Pokemon after literally Wait, can I spoil Avengers?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in Avengers, all the people who got snapped in, they came back. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
well,
is-
and Incineroar was there in Avengers, so
That's right.
I mean,
Incineroar was also just like
right.
in the data mine, like he was in the game code already. He was well present. But yeah, no,
people,
I feel
people
like
thought they might have a year without him. Like maybe
Yeah.
Just one. Just one
Maybe
year,
just one.
please. Please. 1 year. 1 glorious year. like 3 months.
I think anyone who thinks that we're not going to have like the full decks by the end of the generation they've gotta. It doesn't make any sense not to. Like by the end of the generation, at least things will be movable.
At least the DLC looks sick. At least we have Roadrunner Zapdos. Like, there are
fuck!
good.
I'm so excited for whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool. I guess this is a good spot to wrap it, just because we've been going for a good hour and 40 minutes now. So, Zane, I'll let you do your plugs.
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at Ipengu. I write the VGC stuff for False Swipe Gaming every week. I also write the Smash stuff for every False Swipe Gaming video that we do on Smash. On that note, follow False Swipe Gaming. Like I said, I'm going to be doing some stuff to like grow. A lot, aside from just the history of Pokemon videos, we're going to start doing history of player videos, I think.
Hell yes.
And if I can nail down Wolf to ever do another Skype call with me, there will eventually be one on
Skype?
him. Sorry, Discord.
If you use Discord, we will not be having another call.
That's a good point. The problem, though, is that Wolf constantly messages me Melee, Catface, and so
I'm gonna do it right now.
I'll be able to bait him in.
It's like a bait and switch, yeah.
Like Psych, it's an interview. Do the interview while playing Melee.
Yo, can we play Melee, Zane? I really want to play. I'm watching Summit.
We can play after WBE.
Okay.
I'm free for the rest of the day.
Okay, I have to record with Joey, but I'll teach him Pokemon.
Are you playing Joey? Oh, are you?
No. I already lost to him.
We're
recording more VGC stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's my plugs. I also write about esports sometimes, and I'm probably gonna start branching out to Pokemon. I might actually go to VGC tournaments and be the journalist there.
Yo.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Come to Collinsville.
I might. When is it?
Not this weekend, but next.
I might not, but I might come to something else. We'll see.
Yeah, the problem for me in VGC is that there's only like one large scale VGC event that's like anywhere near me, because
What
there's
region?
only I'm in Ontario, so the only thing I got is the Toronto.
That's soon. I might go to that if I win Collinsville.
I assume it's in early May again. It almost always is.
Nope, it's like 3 weeks from now.
Oh shit! Well, maybe I'll go.
Oh.
That one always runs over me because I never have the chance to go because I always have something the same weekend.
Oh.
And it's also a shame I couldn't bring up my team. I wanted you to look at my team and tell me what's good.
Oh, maybe
But
next time.
we're good. It's fine. Give us your plugs and then we're good to go.
Oh, thanks for watching this episode of. Please subscribe, buy my merch. Twitch.tv/WolfieVGC, YouTube.com/WolfieVGC, Twitter.com/WolfieGlick. I'm sorry, WolfieVGC got taken from me, and then I got it back. But
Rude.
yeah,
Someone just grabbed it, knowing that it's you.
I don't remember. I switched to. I don't remember exactly what happened, but anyway, I'm WolfieGlick on Twitter. And yeah, thanks for listening, y'all.
And shoutouts to Panda Global.
Shoutouts to Panda Global. Thank you, Panda.
Shoutouts to Panda Global. Are you and Aaron still are like the only guys that have like a team officially out of the Pokemon VGC?
Wait, what's the
You
question?
guys are both.
No,
you guys were both on.
This is, the actual other shout out that I want to give is go watch James Beck's content because he's great and he got sponsored by Beast Coast recently.
Oh, nice. Okay, so there are more.
And I know from inside whisperings that Beast Coast is like trying to make a lot of big things happen for the Pokemon scene. The founder is a really, really big Pokemon player. So if you show them that you like the content of Mr. James Beck, James Speed,
James is awesome.
whatever, then that will be good. And he's also very good at Pokemon. Also, Marcus got sponsored recently.
Yeah,
Good.
Let's go, Marcus.
Okay, so yeah, there are more. There are more. It's happening, folks. We're making it happen. 2020. This has been Elite Full Restore. You can follow us on Twitter at E4Restore, Tumblr Elite Full Restore. Honestly, though, if you want to get in contact with me, it's probably quicker just to @ me on Twitter, which is MattGCN, named so for the humble GameCube. We are on the Noise Space network of podcasts. That's noisespace.xyz. Many shows about many topics that aren't Pokemon, although one of the podcasts does have the word Pokemon in the title. I assure you it is not about Pokemon.
There we go.
I do a lot of podcasts all over there, and check it out if you're not familiar with them already, although most of the people who are listening to this are already familiar with me.
Yep. Okay. Bye, everyone. Wolfie, don't get beat by...
Galactic Elliot, I hope you respond back.
Have a good battle.